Hot topic here on Morning Kickaround, Friday, May 23rd. I'm Robert. He's Jason Davis. Christian Pulisic skipping the Gold Cup for rest. Is this a big deal or not? Opinions seem to be all the way from it's not a big deal, no one remembers the Gold Cup, let him rest now, all the way to folks like Jeff Carlisle saying that this is the worst case scenario, and Alexi Lalas saying that, Messi can play a million games. Why can't Pulisic?
Yeah.
Where should we land here? Christian skipping this summer's national team, big deal or appropriate?
Okay. In terms of that argument that Messi plays a lot, why can't Pulisic show up for his national team? I do, as much as I am in the camp that I would prefer to have the best possible team right now, working with Mauricio Pochettino, because the World Cup is not that far away and the United States does not have competitive opportunities to test themselves between now and the World Cup outside of this tournament. People are different. People have different energy levels and body types and things about them, just because Lionel Messi can do what he does. And let's remember that Lionel Messi runs
He's one
very, very little. Yeah, he's one of one, and he doesn't run. Lionel Messi sprints, 4 or 5 times a game.
Mm-hmm.
It is different for Christian Pulisic. All right, this is not an excuse. I'm not trying to build an excuse in here. I just want to point out that everybody's different, right? At the same time, again, as I said, I do not like that Pochettino's not going to have this time with with what is even close to an A squad. Some of that, though, is out of his control. Weston McKennie, Tim Weah, Juve doesn't have to release them. They'll release them. They're not. That is not something Mauricio Pochettino can do anything about. Same thing for Giovanni Reina, despite the fact that nobody thinks he should be sticking around at Dortmund next season. He still cannot be involved in this. We also have Alejandro Zendejas, who Pochettino talked about yesterday during his Zoom presser, that they considered Zendejas, but Club America plays in that playoff against LAFC for a spot in the Club World Cup, and if Club America wins, then they go to the Club World Cup, and Zendejas would not be available. So why put him on this roster?
I was going to say, I like this comment. D Life HD. I remember when Landon took some time off and missed the World Cup.
Yeah, Jurgen Klinsmann did not respond well to Christian Pulisic asking for time off.
Christian, as new agey as he was at times, Klinsmann didn't respect the mental health break.
Do you? I guess this is the question, right? And so this the framing of this is fascinating to me because here in white, this is from Taylor Twellman's X account, but here in white you can see what Matt Crocker said about Christian Pulisic in the roster release article over on US Soccer's website. Christian and his team. I'm assuming his team is Christian's in personal team, not AC Milan.
Managers,
it's not 100% clear. Christian and his team approached the federation and the coaching staff about the possibility of stepping back this summer, given the amount of matches he has played in the past 2 years at both the club and international level with very little break. After thoughtful discussions and careful consideration, we made the collective decision that this is the right moment for him to get the rest he needs. The objective is to ensure he's fully prepared to perform at the highest level next season. Now, look, when you have a golden goose, and for lack of a better way of describing him, Christian Pulisic is U.S. Soccer's golden goose, I do think you have to take care with him. But, I mean, it's a good point, Rob, that Landon Donovan said, hey, I need a mental break, and he got punished for it. Whereas Christian Pulisic is saying, I guess I'm tired. And they're like, yeah, sure, bud. Go take some time off. It's totally fine that you don't want to be with the national team right now. This is star treatment. Let's not pretend otherwise. Jedi Robinson, according to Pochettino, literally actually does have a physical ailment that is preventing him from showing up for this camp. Nobody else is being allowed to take a break because they played a lot. Now, some of these guys didn't play a lot, and maybe they don't have that excuse. Yunus Musa, by the way, did say he has a personal thing. Pochettino did not disclose what that was. So I guess you could argue that Musa is more in the Landon Donovan category than in the Christian Pulisic category. And I don't know. I don't know. I'm not going to be mad at Christian. I'm really not. I don't know if I can get to that place of being mad at Christian Pulisic the way that some people seem to be. But I am upset that it feels like we're wasting chances to get better before the World Cup next year.
Yeah, I think the onus really changed. We talked about it not too long ago when with the Club World Cup that was going to add caveats to the selection, and then with the World Cup next year that adds caveat to the selection, and then Gold Cup. I mean, it's almost a given that it would be like a B plus sort of a team. It would be Gold Cup rosters are always a bit of a mixed bag, but it got elevated with how badly Copa America went.
Right.
And the fact that there's not a lot of competitive stuff before
Nations League.
summer.
Nations League. Yeah.
Nations League. So it really put a strange light on the importance of the Gold Cup. So if those bad results hadn't happened, I don't think people even maybe get nearly as upset about it. I think
if they had played better
because of the quirky nature of the remaining schedule.
If they had played better at the Nations League, I wouldn't be as worried about this team. But I haven't seen. I'm being told, hey, trust Pochettino. He knows what he's doing. Does he? He's never done it at the international level. He's had some success at the club level, and I think he's a smart soccer coach. But I've also seen elements or evidence that maybe he doesn't have a handle on exactly what he needs to do to get this team to play good soccer. Because I still go back to Yunus Musa being deployed as a wide player and being a black hole and adding nothing to the team. And just wonder in terms of the ball going to him and just going nowhere after that. I don't know. Like, why should I trust in that at this point? And if we can't trust that he's got a handle on this, why wouldn't he call in the best possible team that he can? And look, and I guess maybe one of the other tensions here is, could Pulisic have been called in, not play a ton, or only be used in certain circumstances? Maybe, I mean, obviously training is still taxing, but maybe you manage his training levels. Why does he have to not be here at all? I think is a question.
Well, I think it is a little concerning because I didn't really see this in some of the conversation regarding his absence, but in Taylor Twellman's tweet here talks about a hip injury being the reason for that, which would be concerning because that's the sort of thing, like it's a chronic hip injury that's a little bit scary in my opinion, for just the individual level. But going back to your discussion about Pochettino and the outlook on this Gold Cup and really what it means, we forget about the Gold Cup a lot of the time. It's in the rearview mirror. Obviously, you remember the U.S. going to like the quarterfinals of a World Cup way stronger than you remember if the U.S. wins a Gold Cup.
I mean, I remember failure in the Gold Cup. I remember Bob Bradley losing his job because of a Gold Cup final against Mexico. I remember 2007 and Benny Feilhaber beating Mexico with a full volley. Like, though, I remember those games. I remember those tournaments, Rob. I mean, some of them obviously, like, and one of the things about the Gold Cup is people say, well, it's not as important anymore because there's no Confederation Cup berth on the line. But again, this is the last competitive tournament or anything the United States will play in before the World Cup. It's a different kind of Gold Cup for that very reason. And I mean, I don't know. I mean, so coming back to what Taylor posted to his social media, you mentioned the chronic hip injury. Okay, if he does have that, of course he needs to take care of it. And if resting through this period gets him to be completely healthy for the World Cup, that's more important than him being in this team, right? And so if that's true, and I can only take Taylor's word for it. And he says word is very,
it's not even sources.
That's not specific. Word is. And what interests me is that it feels like U.S. Soccer put this squarely on Christian Pulisic, as Taylor frames it here. U.S. Soccer putting this on CP, make no mistake about it, which is, and again, choosing to put a statement in the release about the roster. He's the only player that gets mentioned, only absence that gets mentioned as to what happened. Crocker's statement is there, and it feels like they're sort of apologizing to anybody who maybe was expecting to see Christian Pulisic, maybe bought tickets for games, whatever it is. Like, this is our star. He's not here. Don't blame us. We wanted him to play, but he asked, right? He asked not to be here. He declined to call up. That's essentially what they're saying. Right. Yeah. And then Taylor Twellman says word is his hip injury is chronic and needs the summer to figure it out. Again, if that's true, fine. Take the summer. But by saying that, by putting that out there, Taylor is also shifting blame away from Pulisic. Now it's his hip that's to blame, not Pulisic himself for choosing not to play. I'm just tired. Because I don't know that a lot of fans, and I have seen plenty of people extend their understanding to Christian Pulisic. I'm actually kind of surprised by how many fans are like, yeah, this makes sense. Rest him. And maybe that's because he has a reputation for being fragile and we want to see him at the World Cup next year. But in a general sense, Rob, people do not like it when players turn down the international call-ups. It gets you a reputation as a malcontent, as a problem, as somebody who is not loyal to your cause. And that's a hard stink to get rid of.
I really think this is a logic versus an emotion sort of reaction. I think Jeff Carlisle in his ESPN FC piece put who was definitely he literally said this is worst case scenario, because I think with the Nations League failure, I think mentally there was an assumption like, well, at least we have the Gold Cup to figure it out. And then so maybe the Gold Cup doesn't have all the pieces. So when is it that the team will figure it out? And then if the Gold Cup goes poorly with a team that doesn't necessarily reflect what will be at the World Cup next year, like what do followers of the team really have to hang on? Like I said it, after the Nations League failure, like if the Gold Cup doesn't go well, like what do we hold on to? Like what do we even like hang on to for that 9 months until the biggest tournament there is in the sport happens?
There's a couple of different things here. One of them is just being a fan and being concerned that your team is not going to perform well because you want them to win, right? I just want my team to win, and this is not giving me a confidence that they're going to be good in the World Cup next year, which is what we all center our soccer lives around. I mean, maybe more than most fans around the world, particularly in Europe and maybe South America, although South America is probably more in line with this. We are national team fans. Like this is a national team fan culture, at least the Anglo speakers, I think, in the US. I mean, it's changed a bit. Club has become more important, MLS and people who love the Premier League and things like that. But my entry point to loving soccer as an adult was the US men's national team, 2002, the run to the quarterfinals. Like this we are, and of course we're all looking for US soccer, American soccer, to be validated by the success of our men's national team in the World Cup. And this by the way sucks for how we think about the women's national team, because that means we take them for granted, and we shouldn't do that. And they've been incredible. But so much of this is, well, if our men's national team does something in the World Cup, we can feel better about American soccer. And so it's not just we're fans and we're normally following we're just in a normal way following the ups and downs of our team. It now has something to do with our egos, and it has something to do with our desire to see soccer become bigger in this country, because in addition to caring so much about our national team because it reflects back on us in terms of the quality of the soccer played in our country, we are also all boosters on some level who want, again, to be validated by soccer becoming this massive sport in the United States, which it is not right now.
And maybe just as a final note, maybe some of the voices that are the loudest about being anti skipping the Gold Cup, they come from the player generation where there was less options. Like they were playing over here, there wasn't all these different competitions, there wasn't all these different club opportunities, and there wasn't anything else going on. Like the landscape for the player is way more complicated, and the stakes maybe seem higher, and it's not as quite directly A to B.
Yes. Now, okay. So if you want to bring that in, and I'm obviously not a former player, didn't play for the national team. My perspective is that as of a fan. I work with a former national teamer every day, and Eric Ronaldo is on the record, on the radio, saying he gets it, that this is the right move, that Christian Pulisic should not be in the Gold Cup team, that we don't understand how hard it is to go from a European season directly into a summer, play for your national team, never get a break, et cetera, et cetera. That's one ex-national teamer and a National Soccer Hall of Famer's opinion. Another one, you mentioned it, Alexi Lalas. Alexi Lalas is not of that opinion. He thinks that Christian Pulisic should be there because when your national team calls, you show up. You should not be passing on opportunities to go play for your national. Never take it for granted, et cetera, et cetera. Look at what his generation had to go through. Exactly right. There is a generational gap, I think, generally, although Ronaldo is obviously on an opposite side from Alexi Lalas. I don't know. I think I kind of understand the mentality that Alexi Lalas brings to the table. At the same time, you're right, Rob, 100%. Times have changed. The world is different. Maybe we as national team fans have to accept that the international game is just not the end all be all anymore, the way it used to be.
Yeah, the rise of the club game, players, being involved at the club world overseas, and then like the rise of the American club
Yeah,
too.
there you go. So the American trickling out into world football and playing in more prestigious leagues like Serie A, like the Premier League, like the Bundesliga, and there were some back in the day. Of course, Eric Ronaldo went to Germany. We've had players in those places, but the sort of the level that they're asked to play at and the pressure upon them, and the fact that clubs have gotten a lot more aggressive with pushing their advantage, and the fact that they pay the salaries of these players largely, and they're pushing back against international soccer, and you have this battle going on between club and the international game. That's all part of this too.
Join into the conversation by becoming a subscriber and then a member. Morning Kickaround on YouTube. Just a little click of a subscription helps out tremendously. And then, another layer of that is a membership, $3.99. It comes straight to us, helps us become a sustainable program. With a membership, you get priority commenting on the screen, you get early access to videos, and then we'll be setting goals for extra content for members as well, both members on YouTube and the Coffee page. You can support outside of the YouTube sphere with coffee.com/morning kickaround. You can find us as a podcast as well. Search Morning Kickaround on your favorite podcast platform. You can find us on social media at mkickaround on X, Instagram, and Blue Sky. Write us an email, morningkickaround@gmail.com.